got a bit of a confession to make, an unacceptable confession. I don't really like death consciousness anymore. When I was first getting into music, I did find it a really interesting and bleak experience, but these days, I don't know, I just find it kind of dull. I don't really get anything out of it. The instrumentals are very, very bland to me, and so, yeah, I thought I'd get that out of the way. However, though, it didn't really put me off checking out this new album here, Sea of Worry. I was somewhat anticipating it. I thought maybe they'd pull out something a little bit different. They did, of course, put out the album The Unnatural World like 5 years ago, but these days it does not get talked about anywhere near as much as Death Consciousness. Another album I liked at the time, but not really so much these days, and Sea of Worry kind of continues that pattern. I guess maybe this band at this point just isn't really for my ears. One thing you should notice about this album here, though, is that they're going for a bit more of a post-punk sound to their music here, with the propulsive drumming and some even really melodic guitar tones on some of the tracks. There are some moments that really shine through, actually, and there's not as much dreariness to the tracks, I guess, Sea of Worry being the example and Trespassers W. The latter being the best track for me easily, just because I think the guitar riff is really, really enjoyable, and I think the general performances from the band are way more engaging than most of this album, to be honest. Even if that reference to like the angels on his shoulders is ridiculously corny, but I guess that kind of comes with the environment that this album is built in, because there's lots of like religious references on this thing. Now for me, there's barely anything really to go into in regards to that, because I just didn't take enough away from the lyrics that really felt like there was a concise, cohesive idea, because much of the lyrics are just generally the usual affair that we've had with Have a Nice Life. The harmed mental state and depression that the lead singer clearly has been going through for a long time. And of course, it's admirable to put that out there for people to hear, but in the way that it's written usually on this album, it's just really, really vague and uninteresting. Much like the songs themselves, actually. Like the track Dracula Bells just goes on and on and on for ages. It's the most general, standard cliche post-punk track you could ever think of. And it just goes on forever. I don't know why it needs to be as long as it is. But in regards to the lyrics, I mean, the opening lyric of this entire thing is, if the soul survives like I do every summer and I'm still a fucking bummer, then everyone I know is still alive by no choice of mine. Like, what are you on about, dude? It's just so unnecessarily melodramatic to me that I can't really get anything out of it either, because it's simultaneously very vague and saying very little at all. But it becomes even worse when the songs have so little to them, like Everything We Forget, which is just this really simple drone piece, which comes right after the most propulsive song on the album, Trespassers W, which I've already mentioned, and it's just so out of place. Like, why did you stick this drone piece that really adds nothing to the album here? It's extremely unfulfilling to me. And then you have the Lords of Tressorhorn, which comes right after, which is equally as unfulfilling, with those mumbly, inaudible vocals that this singer chooses to sing with, which is just mixed in the worst way. It's not there to build an atmosphere. You don't get an emotional performance or anything like that. It is just bleakness, drenched in more bleakness, and it's monotonously dull. And then there's this vague notion towards this idea in the lyrics about how happiness can be stripped at any time, which, yeah, I mean, it can be, but just at least talk about it in a way that I can hear your voice, maybe, or in a way that actually is, a little bit interesting. But I don't really get anything out of these lyrics. The track does erupt towards the end, though. You do get a bit of life coming out of the song, but it is just all so compressed, and the instrumental feels like mushed and it's just not a nice on the ears moment for me at all. And then I did mention some of the religious references, which we get mostly, I guess, on the final track, which you have this pastor unleashing his thoughts on the idea of evil in the world. Why must God forgive the people that commit atrocities and sins and the evil of the world. He must not forgive those. Why does he do this? I guess for the first listen it was fairly interesting to listen to, but like once you've heard it once, why would I play this again? Especially when it takes up half of the 12-minute track, and then the second half is accompanied by the band once again doing their droney. This isn't to say I'm completely against all drone, by the way. I know there'll be some new people coming to the channel to see this video, and they'll be like, you just don't get drone. No, you don't get it. But that's not true. I do like some drone. But I just think Have a Nice Life's approach to it is really, really stiff and lifeless. Even going back to their earliest days, their cult classic of Death Consciousness, I'm still scratching my head wondering what I'm supposed to be enjoying about their approach to it, because I just don't see what they do. That I just don't get it. I think I just don't get their style. I should just leave the review here, really, shouldn't I, before I say things that will annoy people even more. 4.5 out of 10. Yeah, I'm just not really digging this. You know, the post-punk elements were actually kind of refreshing to begin with, but when you listen to the album more, you do kind of notice that they don't really put their own spin on it in a way that some modern bands like Proto Martyr do extremely well. Have a Nice Life are just kind of dabbling in it in a pretty generic way, which isn't always the worst thing. But I think on this occasion, it just comes off very plain. Let me know what you think of this though. Clearly I'm here to say I think it's bad, but if you like it, I'm definitely interested in hearing what you say. Thank you for watching my review. Hope you got something out of it. Do have a good day, have a nice life, and goodbye.